In the depths of the northern forests, where the mist clings to the ancient trees like a shroud, lies the forgotten village of Eldritch Hollow. Once a thriving settlement, it was abandoned overnight under mysterious circumstances, leaving behind only whispered legends and an ominous silence that deterred even the most curious explorers. Ethan, a writer with a penchant for the paranormal, had heard these legends and felt a magnetic pull towards Eldritch Hollow. He believed the village's eerie past could inspire his next bestseller. Equipped with his camera, notebook, and an insatiable curiosity, he drove through winding roads shrouded in fog, the sense of isolation growing with every mile. Upon arrival, the village greeted him with its dilapidated charm. Houses with caved-in roofs, gardens overrun by wild flora, and a prevailing silence that seemed almost sentient. Ethan's steps echoed on the cobbled streets, his breath visible in the crisp air. He began exploring, documenting each step with his camera, the eerie quiet only broken by the crunch of his footsteps. As the sun dipped below the horizon, bathing the village in twilight, Ethan stumbled upon the village library. Its doors were surprisingly intact, inviting him in. Inside, books lay scattered as if the occupants had vanished mid-read. A thick layer of dust covered everything except one book on the checkout counter. It was an old leather-bound journal, unusually well preserved. Compelled, Ethan opened it, discovering it was the diary of a former resident, Miriam. The entries started cheerfully, detailing daily life and village festivities. But as Ethan flipped through the pages, the tone shifted. Miriam wrote of a darkness that began to consume the village, an inexplicable malaise that crept into the hearts of its inhabitants. People whispered of seeing figures in the fog, ethereal and fleeting. Then, neighbors began to disappear. One by one, homes emptied, leaving no trace of their occupants. The final entry was frantic, scribbled with a trembling hand. "It comes with the fog. We cannot escape it." A chill ran down Ethan's spine as he read the last words, just as the first tendrils of fog seeped into the library through the cracks and crevices. The air grew colder, and the silence deepened. Deciding it was time to leave, Ethan placed the diary back on the counter and turned to exit, but stopped in his tracks. Outside the window, in the thickening fog, figures loomed, just as Miriam had described. Panic gripped him as he realized the tales were more than mere legends. The village, enveloped in a sinister haze, seemed to close in around him. The figures in the fog moved closer, their features obscured but their intentions palpable. Ethan backed away, stumbling over a pile of books, his heart pounding in his ears. He scrambled to his feet, looking for an escape, but the library door wouldn't budge. The figures were nearly at the window now, their hands pressing against the glass. Desperation surged within Ethan. He grabbed a heavy tome and smashed it against the window, shattering the glass. Without looking back, he clambered through the jagged opening, cutting his hands in his frantic escape. The cold bit into his skin as he ran through the fog, the ethereal figures just steps behind. The village seemed labyrinthine in its layout, confusing him, thwarting every turn. Just as he felt his strength waning, the fog began to lift, revealing the path leading out of Eldritch Hollow. Ethan didn't stop running until he reached his car, the village now a silhouette against the dark sky. He drove away, glancing in the rearview mirror where the fog seemed to retreat back to the confines of the village, the figures dissolving into the mist. At home, the cuts on his hands ached as he penned down his experience. His encounter at Eldritch Hollow was indeed the inspiration he sought, but he knew he'd never return. Some stories, he realized, are too real to revisit. In the small, tightly knit community of Cedar Grove, the disappearance of local librarian Maria Thompson sent shockwaves through the town. Known for her kindness and love for mystery novels, Maria was last seen locking up the library on a cool, foggy Friday evening. The following morning, when Maria did not show up for her weekly book club, her friends grew worried. Calls went unanswered, and her house appeared untouched since she left for work the day before. The community rallied together, organizing search parties and spreading the word on social media. As days turned into a week with no sign of Maria, Detective Helen Park was brought onto the case. Helen, known for her meticulous nature and keen intuition, started by examining the library's security footage from the night Maria disappeared. The footage revealed Maria leaving the library at her usual time, but a few frames showed a mysterious figure lingering across the street, barely visible through the fog. Intrigued by this clue, Helen focused on identifying the figure. She interviewed locals and sifted through recent incidents in the area. Her investigation led her to a series of troubling findings. In the weeks leading up to her disappearance, Maria had been working on archiving old newspapers and town records, some of which contained references to a long-forgotten scandal involving several prominent Cedar Grove families. Helen hypothesized that Maria might have uncovered something significant, perhaps dangerous. Diving deeper, Helen found notes Maria had scribbled in the margins of an old town ledger, hinting at hidden truths and unresolved injustices linked to the scandal. The detective's next step was to confront the descendants of the families involved in the old scandal. As she pieced together the stories, she discovered a pattern of cover-ups and corruption that had never fully been resolved. The families, feeling threatened by the potential exposure of their ancestors' misdeeds, became prime suspects in Maria's disappearance. With tension mounting in Cedar Grove, Helen organized a town hall meeting, urging the community to come forward with any information they might have. During the meeting, a breakthrough came when a local teenager admitted to seeing Maria arguing with a well-known businessman related to one of the families in the scandal near the library on the night she vanished. Armed with this new information, Helen pressed the businessman during an intense interrogation. Under pressure, he confessed that he had confronted Maria about her research, fearing the repercussions it would have on his family's reputation. He claimed that after a heated argument, Maria agreed to stop her investigation, and he left her unharmed by the library. Doubting his story, Helen and her team continued their search, eventually discovering a hidden room in the library basement. Inside, they found Maria, alive but shaken, alongside boxes of incriminating documents she had hidden away. Maria had staged her disappearance to protect herself from the threatening advances of those implicated in her research. With the evidence now in the open and the community behind her, Maria was safe to come forward. The case of Maria Thompson not only reopened old wounds, but also initiated a healing process in Cedar Grove as the town confronted its shadowed past. Detective Helen Park was celebrated for her dedication, and Maria, once just a librarian, became a symbol of resilience and the pursuit of truth. This story, blending mystery and community dynamics, offers a thrilling yet realistic exploration of how secrets long buried can shape and shake the lives of many. In a bustling city, a new high-rise apartment building touted as the pinnacle of modern living opened its doors. Among the first residents was Elise, a young professional attracted by the state-of-the-art amenities and prime location. As she settled into her new home on the 24th floor, she felt a sense of achievement and excitement. However, strange incidents began to occur. Elise noticed that her digital clocks frequently showed incorrect times, her television randomly turned on during the night, and her smartphone often lost service. Initially dismissing these issues as minor technical glitches common in new buildings, she continued her daily routine. One night, Elise awoke to the sound of whispering. The voice was faint, almost incoherent, emanating from her living room. Heart pounding, she investigated, only to find nothing out of place except her TV, which was on and showing static despite being unplugged. The next day, Elise spoke to her neighbors, hoping someone might share similar experiences or offer a logical explanation. To her dismay, several neighbors recounted eerily similar stories: appliances acting independently, disembodied whispers, and a chilling feeling of being watched. Determined to uncover the truth, Elise and a group of fellow residents decided to research the building's history. After digging through city archives, they discovered a chilling fact. The high-rise was constructed on the site of an old asylum, known for its tragic past and inhumane conditions. The asylum had been demolished after a devastating fire claimed the lives of many patients and staff, a fact conveniently omitted from the building's promotional materials. As the residents delved deeper, they learned about the asylum's notorious director, Dr. Harold Finch, whose experimental treatments had been both cruel and unorthodox. Local lore suggested that Finch's spirit, along with those of his tormented patients, haunted the site, restless and angry. Fueled by this revelation, Elise and her neighbors contacted a team of paranormal investigators to assess the building. The investigation revealed high levels of electromagnetic activity and captured audio recordings of distressing voices pleading for help. The findings were presented to the building management, who reluctantly agreed to bring in a spiritual medium and conduct a cleansing ceremony. The medium, an elderly woman with a deep understanding of spiritual disturbances, performed the ritual, which involved sealing old energies and pacifying the restless spirits. After the ceremony, the strange occurrences ceased, and the building returned to normalcy. However, Elise could never shake the feeling of unease that lingered in the air. Eventually, she decided to move out, leaving behind the high-rise that stood as a modern marvel built atop echoes of a sorrowful past. The building still stands, a beacon in the city skyline, its dark history unknown to many of its newer residents. But those who know the truth understand that some places, no matter how brightly they shine on the outside, always keep a shadow within. Thank you for tuning in. If you enjoyed these chilling tales, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more eerie adventures. Keep the lights on and stay tuned for the next spine-tingling stories.